I am a senior English major here. I'm from Tyler, Texas. My project is actually a memoir titled You, Me, and Bread. It's set during the 6-month period I lived with my non-biological parents, Gay and Paul, here in College Station. At that time, Paul was dying of cancer. The memoir touches on a few different themes such as religion, family ties, and belonging. I wanted to write this memoir because when I moved in with him, I knew it would be hard and that I wasn't prepared. I looked for books with similar themes that were honest, but I didn't quite find what I needed. For that reason, I decided to write it myself. My goal is to help other people who are experiencing something similar not feel alone. For the memoir, I obviously relied heavily on my memories and the memories of others who were all involved, as well as my own photography, poetry, and journal entries from that time. I also dug into research on belonging, as well as reading books and articles on memoir writing. Today I'm going to read 2 different sections, one that shows what caring for Paul was like for me, and the other one is about snow in Texas. Ritual. Sometimes I stare at the backs of my hands, how soft and smooth. The veins, while visible, stay comfortably beneath my skin. I think about how one day they won't look like that anymore. My veins will protrude, my skin will become thin and freckled with age spots. I wonder if I will think back to when they looked like this, if I will mourn the aging or embrace it, or if I'll even make it that long. Often I lie in bed and rub lotion onto my hands and arms, gently massaging in the moisture. It's times like these when I remember him. I remember the darkness of 2 a.m., wrapped in the fluffy robe his wife Gay bought me. I would steal into the kitchen and count out the pain pills into the little rubber bowl, mark them on the paper, and pour a glass of water or Gatorade. I would carry these into his room, waiting for a moment to see if the next gravelly breath would come, relieved when it did. I'd turn on the lamp and touch the thin skin of his arm or shoulder, whispering his name until he woke. That time again, huh? Paul would roll his eyes, but then give a forced chuckle like he was trying to make up for being outwardly annoyed. Yep, sure is, I would laugh, trying to keep things light. Then I would wait while he struggled to get the heavy comforter off his legs, refusing my awkward attempts to help. He would lay there for a while, whole body shaking, whether from cold or pain or effort, I didn't know. He'd pull his knees up, skin hanging thin and white, then rub his arms up and down repeatedly as if he were applying lotion. In between each finger and knuckle, not an inch of the spotted, veiny skin untouched. I never asked why he did that. I already felt like an intruder. I just assumed he was trying to restore feeling or warm them up to movement. Sometimes it felt like hours would go by, me standing there, half asleep, waiting for him to finish so I could refuse to let him sit up on his own. I remember one night in particular, when he laid there and looked at me for a moment before saying, "You're just wishing I would hurry up so you can get back to that sleep you love so much." I don't think he ever intended to hurt me. He said multiple times in those 6 months that I had come there to live for myself, and knowing that he thought my intentions had been selfish hurt me as much as watching him die did. I had replied then, "No, I'm fine, take your time." It was generally my job to pull him to a sitting position after a few weeks of his wife straining her back with the effort. He had fought it with a strength no one would have thought possible considering all the cancer in his bones. He fought every change from her to me, even if it hurt her to do it, and I could never understand why he had to be so selfish, and then I would feel guilty for thinking poorly of him. When he finished revitalizing his arms and legs, I approached, anchoring one knee to the heavy sleigh bed frame and digging my other foot into the carpet so firmly I could feel the plastic backing through the fibers. I would grasp his forearms and he would grip mine, and we would say, "Ready?" and both pull together. There were many times I almost fell on him in this endeavor. Knowing how much he hated me helping made it harder to help. I felt incapable and awkward, but I knew I had to grit my teeth and do it because Gay needed me to, because he needed me to, whether he liked it or not. With his feet hanging over the edge of the bed, I would move the walker to him and lock the wheels so he could pull himself to standing. "I'm fine, you can go," he'd say, unmoving until I left the room. I would walk to the door out of his eye line and watch his reflection in the mirror as he slowly moved into the bathroom. I understood he wanted to do that in private. I would wait until he had come back and sat down on the bed again before I would re-enter. "Ready for your pills?" I moved to the dresser where the rubber bowl and drink sat. I can do it. You can set them on the nightstand and go." He would wave his arm dismissively at me. "You know I can't, Paul. I need to make sure you take them." He had complained many times about not needing or wanting the painkillers, but I had heard him some nights crying out in his sleep. He would look at me and allow the pills to be put in his palm and the drink handed to him. It was tedious, watching him bring the liquid to his lips, hands shaking and drink sloshing about. He'd lay back in bed and I would cover him up. "You good? Comfy? Need anything else?" Selfishly, I thought of sleep. He looked around thoughtfully, like he always did before answering a question. I always admired that about him. No, I'm fine, he would reply. Or, yeah, can you turn the fan off? Every night I would walk out of the room with an I love you. Sometimes he'd say it back, and sometimes silence followed me to my room. The snow. I want to tell you about the snow. It was December 7th, a Thursday. I walked outside the door after getting off from work, stepped out from under the red-trimmed roof and felt the flurries so unexpected I couldn't stop smiling. Snow in Texas. I put Sleeping On Last on the radio in the car to drive home to. It was the only music I felt would be magical enough to drive home to. While the flakes blew across the road like snakes in the desert or rivulets undulating over the blacktop. It was surreal. I drove slowly home with that gentle voice and the stringed instruments in my ears and the building whiteness in front of me. I was in my room when Gay came in. The sun had gone down and the snow had stopped, I thought, so I was laying in bed with my dog Knox reading. "Gracie, you have to come see outside," she said. I hopped off the bed and it creaked, the thump of Knox's little 12-pound body landing on the carpet behind me. Outside, the ground glowed in the moonlight. I'd seen snow before. Like that time in Colorado, I showed up on my neighbor's doorstep, knee-deep in snow and half naked, but that's a story for another time. Or that time, it snowed in April. I was camping at Tyler State Park with my family as a kid. We rode our bicycles through it, and mine sounded like a motorcycle because I had taped a playing card against the tire spokes. We sat by the lake, and my dad kept getting up to tunk the blankets around us so we wouldn't get too cold. It all felt like another life. Knox had never seen snow before. He immediately took off into it, up to his belly, which wasn't hard to do with his small frame and short legs. He ran around in circles with Gay's huge border collie, Jethro, biting the ice and shaking his head at the cold. Gay and I laughed, and I tried to take a picture, but it was too dark, and all I have of that silly black dog and his first snow is my memories, and dark pictures, only light and shadow. We dried them off with the ratty maroon porch towel and went back in, and I told Paul about the snow, sitting at the computer in his office. "Paul, did you want to see the snow?" I asked, poking my head through the doorway. "Oh yeah, I never saw any of that in Alaska," he chuckled. "Exactly," I responded, matching his sarcastic tone. I went to my room and grabbed a beanie and a jacket, slipping a pack of cigarettes in my pocket. I wasn't a smoker per se, but I did enjoy it the once in a while, mostly in social settings, and only for the past year or so. I stepped out the heavy front door and took off down the sidewalk through the cul-de-sac. I lit a cigarette and tried to be discreet so that my taboo hobby wouldn't be noticed by the neighbors. The last thing I wanted was for one of them to say to Gay, "You know, I saw that girl who lives with you smoking." Ours was the only house in the neighborhood without Christmas lights. The whole street glowed, lights reflecting the snow, the sky backlit by the moon. I could see everything clearly as I turned the corner. There was an empty lot down the street, too small for a house and what I like to call my miniature forest. The snow was deep, covering my boots as I stroked the small trees, touching my fingertips to the glassy sugar berries hanging in clumps among the leaves. I brought the smoke to my lips again. The toke I took and exhaled felt wrong in the whiteness around me, like pollution, to the forest in the snow and the forest inside me. I wanted to always be like a tree. This boy I once liked asked me what my favorite thing in all the world was. What I liked, what I loved more than anything or anyone or any feeling or motion. Trees, I told him. Trees are my favorite thing. I wanted to be a forest princess, or one of the warrior maidens of the mythical goddess Diana. Yet here I was, poisoning the trees I loved so much, coating my lungs in ash, voluntarily inviting cancer into my body. Paul didn't have a choice, but I did. I dropped it then, into the ice packed around my boots, and swore then and there that it was the last cigarette I would ever have, because I wanted to be pure as tree-filtered oxygen, white as snow, and just as clean. When I got back to the house, I threw the pack in the garbage. I half wanted to take a picture of them, scattered on top of old tissues in the H-E-B bag. It looked a lot like starting over. I never told anyone about it. I think the best kind of secrets are the ones that are only about you and the way that you change for the better. My secret is about the snow. About this snow, in Texas, on Park Oak Drive in the little forest in a cul-de-sac, and about how I vowed to never again choke the trees inside me.